is a true thing that our pelvis becomes less stable as the result of hormones in our body. And the pelvis sounds like it's just one thing, the pelvis. And here I have a model pelvis, a model female pelvis. But structurally, she's not just one bone. She's a collection of bones. And the main ones are the two ilia, so the two halves, one side and the other side, and they meet together at the sacrum. And the sacrum is really part of the spine, the bottom part of the spine. So that's here, the sacrum. And so where the two ilia meet the sacrum, that's the sacro-iliac joints. And most of the time, so for most people, so for men and for women who are pregnant or menstruating or perimenopausal, it does function pretty much as one thing. But sometimes it starts to loosen and then it functions more like the three separate parts. And you can feel that in the form of pain or discomfort or just a kind of funny feeling at these joints, because then they're starting to move very slightly in a way that isn't comfortable. And meanwhile, at the front of the pelvis, so here at the front, you've got the pubic symphysis, and that's where the ilium, the two halves of the pelvis, meet at the front. And in between so these two bones here at the front are two bones. This bone here is separate from that bone there, and they're joined together by some cartilage and soft tissues. And so again, we can feel discomfort there during pregnancy due to extra pressure and due to the softening that starts to allow these bones to move more than they're used to. So all great fun. One thing that can help is this external ligament, actually tying it together from the outside. And the other thing, really simple thing that actually just really helps a lot, is standing with your weight evenly balanced over both feet. So a little exercise now in standing with your weight not evenly balanced. Like, you know, when sometimes you're on the phone and you put all your weight down through one leg or the other. Just let your weight rock from side to side onto one foot and onto the other foot. So you get a real sense of what it is to stand with your weight not evenly balanced, more on one leg or more on the other leg. And when you do that, this is fine to rock and sway. But if you get stuck with your weight more on one side than the other for a lengthy period of time, just because those joints being a bit softer, after a while things are going to slide and slip and potentially create that discomfort. So if we're going to be stuck or steady or still, stationary for any length of time, ideally we want to find the place where, yeah, you can just feel that the weight's evenly balanced over both feet, both knees, and both hips. So the pelvis is resting evenly on the top of the two legs. And in addition to that, if I turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing here, you needn't really straighten and tense your legs. So actually, if you can keep your legs a little bit bent, like maybe you were going skiing, with a little bit of bounce in them, and so you feel you can still move your pelvis. It's not that you necessarily have to keep it still all the time. It's about how lines of force are moving through your pelvis. So you see with my knees bent here, I can let my pelvis tilt forward and back. I can let my pelvis tilt side to side, but it's really stable. It's balanced evenly over both legs. Okay, and then you can straighten your legs and bend your knees. So there's fluidity within the stability. I've also put my feet fairly wide. So the most stable is to have your heels, your ankles underneath the eyes of the hips. I think of these little holes here as the eyes of the hips. So the closer you put your feet together, the more potential tension there is on your sacro-iliac joints. And then the wider you go again, potentially you might feel more stable, but again, there's more stress through the sacro-iliac joints. So if it's a real issue, you can really pay attention to having your heels directly under the hips. And now we've done all of that and got all that sorted, and you can stand up nicely. We're going to do a little standing sequence, which I call the palm tree sequence. So if you bring your hands out in front of you, interlace your fingers and turn your palms away, so you get a nice stretch there through the palms of your hands. You're going to take your arms up above your head. And if here with your arms up above your head, you can't keep your palms turned away, you just turn them back that way. But your arms are directly up above your head. Palms up or down, whichever's doable. And then you breathe in. And exhaling over to one side. Stay there for a breath in and out. Back to the middle. And then exhaling to the other side. Staying for your breath in and out. Back to the middle as you breathe in. And then place the palms of your hands down on the top of your head. Okay, we're going to rotate. We're going to do a little twist. Now, ideally, when you rotate, I'd like you to keep your hips facing forwards. So you're just turning on an exhalation your upper body. And staying like that for a breath in and out. And then back to the middle as you breathe in. Exhale, turning to the other side. Staying for the breath in and out. And then inhale back to the middle. Turn the palms upward again, breathing in, and as you breathe out, bend to one side. Staying, in and out, and then back to the middle. And over to the other side. Staying for the breath in and out. Remember, you can soften your knees and wiggle your hips whenever you might like to. Back to the middle on the inhale, and now release the arms, and you can circle your wrists and soften your elbows and let your arms come back down by your side, and you might actually feel a little bit of a kind of rush of blood down your arms. And I should say, I probably should have said before, if that practice makes you dizzy, then you bring your arms down immediately. Roll the shoulders and soften your knees. So we're going to get a nice little scooping, flowing movement happening here. Soft knees, rolling shoulders. And we're going to come down to the floor and back up again in a little sequence. So I'm going to do it in slow motion this first time. So with soft knees, you put your hands just above your knees and pause about halfway down to wiggle your hips or wag your tail. If you want to imagine you've got a tail and you're giving it a swoosh from side to side. So tail up, belly down. If you feel that you've not got quite enough space here, take your feet wider so your bump can fit between your thighs. And what we're going to do is bend the knees and reach for the floor. So you can put one hand and then the other hand, but try and get both knees to touch down at exactly the same time. And once you're down on hands and knees, or knuckles and knees, or hands on a few books, if you're maybe suffering from heartburn, then we're going to rock the babies in their hammocks. So swinging the hips from side to side, imagining your baby's in a little hammock, having a rock, having a sway, and then take your baby around on a merry-go-round ride. So your hips circling, halfway around as you breathe in, halfway around as you breathe out, halfway on the inhale, halfway on the exhale, and then back the other way. And remember, you've got a volume button, so it might be a really tiny movement for you, or it might be a really big movement. And you need to listen in to what your body's telling you about whether you need more mobility today or whether you need more stability today. Back to the middle, we're going to come to cat pose, so chin down and tail down. Let the back round, slightly hug your baby up and in. And from here, take your hips back towards your heels, soften your elbows and slide forward. So we're going to make this roller coaster movement. Babies on the roller coaster ride. Breathing, noisy breathing. Because that helps us connect with our breath and also lose some inhibitions about making sound, making noise. And postpartum babies love hearing you breathing and make noise while you do your yoga practice as well. So one more baby on the roller coaster movement, and then tuck your toes, Walk your hands towards your knees. We're going to try and get back up the way we came down. So use your arms to help you push off, both knees lifting at the same time. Then you can bring your hands onto the knees. And then pushing into the feet, you can stand up. And yes, punch the air because you're up. So I like to think of that as the yoga of getting up and down off the floor. And something that if you can practice it throughout your pregnancy, if you end up going to 42 weeks, you'll still be able to get up and down easily off the floor and not feel like a beached whale. So just check again that your weight's evenly balanced over both feet. Rocking and swaying, knees a little bit soft. And we're going to make this scooping movement, scooping with the shoulders and the pelvis. Very nice. It's a nice scooping happening. And then reach up and come back down to the floor. So I'm going to go a bit quicker this time, bringing the hands down to the knees and then the floor, using my arms to help support so both knees can touch at exactly the same time. And then a little sway of the hips from side to side, circling the hips around and back the other way. And then to the middle and take your baby on a roller coaster ride. Put my hands up on my books again. So the hands are on the books as an example that if you need longer arms to stop yourself getting heartburn, you can make your arms longer with little piles of blocks or books. Baby on the roller coaster, tuck the toes, walk the hands in, and come on up, back up to standing. Yes, and you're up. Soften the knees, roll the shoulders. Okay, so we're going to have another go at my little palm tree sequence, but this time from a warrior one base, Virabhadrasana 1. So it's one of the yoga postures, standing yoga postures, warrior one, that's quite common. But we're going to do it, if you go to regular yoga classes, I'm going to teach you to do this pose in a particular way for pregnancy, which is starting from the back of your mat with your feet hip width apart. So we're not bringing the feet and ankles together if you're used to doing it like that. Keep the feet hip width apart so it's really stable. Then turn your right foot out about 45 degrees and step your left foot forward, just a comfortable step. So don't necessarily step as wide as you possibly can, just a moderate step, comfortable step. And your ankles stay in line with your hips, so your feet are still hip width apart, but you've taken this step. In this posture, we're facing forward, so you're facing to the front of your mat. You're going to keep your right leg or your back leg very straight and strong. So you might even start to feel a nice bit of a calf stretch and a feeling of strength and support from this back leg. And then the front leg, you just bend the knee a little bit, and not necessarily as much as you can, because we don't want the knee to overshoot the ankle. So just a little enough to get this feeling of lunge, keeping the weight out of this front knee and more down in the back leg. Hips facing forwards, and then palm tree sequence. So palms together, interlace the fingers, turn the palms away and then press up. Unless that doesn't feel good, keep the hands this way. We're going to have a little bend to one side, breathing in and out, and inhale back to the middle, and a bend to the other side. Breathing in and out, try and keep the lower body very still and steady. Inhale to the middle, place the palms of the hands down on the top of the head. If you feel dizzy doing this, bring your hands to your hips. If this position doesn't feel comfortable for your pelvis, do it balanced on both feet as we did before. So we're going to inhale, exhale, turn to one side. Don't force it, just a comfortable turn without moving the pelvis. Inhale back to the middle. Exhale, turn the other way. Little rotation. It might be hardly any movement at all. That's okay. Inhale back to the middle. Exhale, stay. Inhale, push up with your arms. And then release your fingers, circle the wrists, soften the elbows, bring your arms around, straighten that front leg, and see if you might be able to just step back or step forward. Good. So now do a compare and contrast. I'm guessing when you put your feet down underneath your hips, maybe soften your knees and roll your shoulders, I'm guessing that maybe one side's going to feel different from the other side. Just feeling into how that is. And then get ready to go for the other side. So this time you're going to turn your left foot out. Not too far, about 45 degrees, right foot, comfortable step. So the pelvis is facing forwards. Back leg strong and straight, just a little soft knee bend in that front knee. So this is less about stretching and more about strengthening and stability and containment. Keep it small, but working hard with the legs. See if you can flare your toes. So what I mean by that is you pick up the fronts of your toes, but leave the balls of your feet on the floor. So the arches of the feet come alive. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry for now. We'll talk about that another week. Okay, strong legs and then soft arms. So palms together, push the palms away and stretch up, keeping your hips nice and still and level. Inhale, exhale, side bend. Stay for a breath in and out. Inhale to the middle. Exhale, other side. Stay. Trying to keep the legs and the pelvis very still. Inhale, back to the middle. Exhale, palms down onto the top of your head. Okay, so now as you inhale, it's like your head pushes up into the palms of your hands, and exhale, rotate. Don't force it. Just through your comfortable range of movement, stay. Inhale, back to the middle. And exhale, rotate the other way. So hips level, legs strong, upper body soft. Keep breathing. Inhale to the middle. Exhale. And then push the palms up again or stretch the arms up. And when you're ready, release. Wiggle the fingers, circle the wrists, soften the elbows, straighten that front leg. And if you can, step back. Bend both knees, roll the shoulders. So this is now very symmetrical. And it can be a big movement. Or it can be a really very small movement and hands on your baby. And then we're going to come back down onto hands and knees. So take your time with this. Try and get both knees to touch at the same time. I'm trying to get these movements really stuck in your memory, so you can do them a couple of times every day without having to put the video on or anything. Swaying the hips side to side, giving your baby some space to move. And being careful when you do that, that you don't let your lower back get too kind of bendy and fruit bowly like I'm showing now. So it's not necessarily arched like this, but there's a slight feeling of support for the baby in their hammock. And then circle. And you can change the feeling and sensation of these circles by putting one knee forward and one knee back. Or the other knee forward and the other knee back. So on each of you, it's going to feel slightly different, and what you need day by day might be slightly different. So changing the position of the knees will give you slightly different feeling in your hip sockets and in those sacro-iliac joints and in the lower back. And if any of those feelings are uncomfortable or awkward, then my suggestion is you keep your knees directly under your hips and you keep the movements really quite small. And then coming to the middle, take the babies on a little roller coaster ride. So hug your baby in towards you, and then slide your head and chest forward. So remembering this has a volume button as well. It can be quite big, like a striking cobra, and it can be quite small. And it depends a little bit on what you're working with today in your practice. Tucking the toes, walking the hands in, we're going to come back up to standing. Or if you're feeling a bit hot and bothered and like we're doing, you know, you're getting a bit tired or dizzy, then remember you could use the ball to sit on when you come up.